Well, I'm joined in the studio by World Affairs analyst Marco Vicenzino. Marco, thanks for joining me. At an emergency meeting last month to discuss this crisis, the EU agreed to triple the funding for rescue operations run by Frontex, which is the border agency. They also discussed the idea of targeting the smugglers' boats with airstrikes. Is this something that could work, do you think?
In theory, one would strike by air or strike by sea. In practice, far more difficult. You need is reliable information, reliable intelligence, which is questionable whether it exists or not. And secondly, also you need a United Nations Security Council resolution authorizing the use of military force. And many members of the Security Council, some of them, such as Russia, would be very reluctant to authorize another resolution which authorizes military force in Libya based upon what occurred in 2011.
But is this not something that Libya itself can do? I mean, after all, the Tripoli Coast Guard is doing very little. I mean, I know the Tripoli Coast Guard doesn't actually consist of very many vessels, does it? But, I mean, they're not doing an awful lot. They've said that if they see a vessel that's in trouble, they will stop and help, but they're not actually going to do anything to control it. What more can Libya do, do you think?
The difficult fact is that Libya is a divided country. It's a country it's at civil war, divided between two governments, one that's controlled by the Tobruk, the internationally recognized government in Tobruk, and then in the west, there's the Islamist-leaning National Salvation Government. And all these people are leaving from the western shores of Libya under that government not recognized. So you have that political issue, that division. And there's also the fact is that many of those militias that are controlling the areas where the boats are taken off from, many of them are already collaborating with the smugglers. There's a huge, enormous profit incentive.
We've talked a lot about the journey that they have across the Mediterranean. We've talked a lot about the hopelessness of their situation, how it must feel for them crossing the Mediterranean under very dangerous and uncomfortable circumstances. But that's almost the end of their journey, isn't it? Because they've come from places all across parts of Africa, you know, from Eritrea as well as many other countries. They've already made a very treacherous journey just to get to the shores of Libya, haven't they?
Yes, I mean, when you talk about these migrants, you have many of them that are fleeing conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa, and there's another large part that's coming from sub-Saharan Africa, as far east as the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and as far as West Africa, countries including Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana. So what happens here is that many of them are traveling from these far regions to reach that destination, to reach Libya. They go in through a series of smugglers, and these criminal human traffickers, once they know that these people have nothing to lose, they're basically putting everything they have on the line, and they treat them like chattel. Once they're in the control of these different traffickers, anything can possibly happen, and many don't even make it to the shores of Libya. They get lost along the route.
And it's not cheap. A lot of them are spending their life savings, aren't they?
Completely.
In trying to get to the shores of Libya to start with.
Completely. The little bit that they have, they'll put everything on the line. Once again, from their perspective, they have nothing to lose.
World Affairs analyst Marco Vicenzino, thank you very much indeed for joining us.